Hi, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About Ghosts. Before we dive into the things we've reviewed for this week, just wanted to touch base on what's been happening with Destination Fear. Have you been following much of this?
Yes.
So, for the people that haven't, first of all, I want to start off by saying I think the Destination Fear crew had a feeling that they were going to be canceled.
Yes.
And the reason that I think that is they were very smart in whipping their fans up into a frenzy over this, which really helped with the next part of their journey, which is they are going to continue creating content on YouTube, which is freaking awesome. I'm so excited.
And what I like about YouTube, it's free for everyone.
Mm-hmm. You just got to watch ads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some places or some shows use more ads than others. I think it all depends on how much monetizing they need to do.
Yeah.
But these folks, brilliant in that they decided on the day they found out officially, and as I said, I think they had a good feeling. They created, and I believe they had it all set up ready to go, a GoFundMe. And all they wanted to create, or all they wanted to receive, was $65,000, which is a modest amount. And they said that that would fund the first road trip, or first two?
First road trip.
First road trip, which is, of course, a whole season of shows. They made that $65,000 in 2 hours of their fans donating, which is awesome.
Yeah.
As of this writing, or as of this speaking, they have covered about $350,000 US, which, I mean, for us, I look at, because I keep track of it now, I look at it and it shows up in Canadian funds, which is awesome. It's almost 500,000 in Canadian funds. It's so exciting. But to look at it from their point of view, about $350,000 now, which means they now have enough for, I think, 5 or 6 road trips and 2 international trips, which is cool.
And another thing I like, they offer phone calls and Zoom calls.
Treats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And T-shirts and rubber ducks.
But that's how GoFundMe works,
Yeah, but, not everyone does that.
Well, if you have a GoFundMe, most of the time there are levels. And you get something for donating to a certain level.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. But yeah, apparently there is a rubber duck, a little yellow rubber duck hidden in every episode somewhere that Dakota has placed kind of like a little Easter egg where you can find something cool. So that's the very first level is if you donate $40, you get a rubber duck signed by him. I guess, I can't remember which level it is. I forget. I think it's not maybe it's a couple thousand or something. But you will get the original, his yellow rubber duck. Yeah. Which is kind of cool. But yeah, there's lots of treats. There are...
guest appearances?
They're sold out. They allowed for 4 $10,000 donations. And if you donated $10,000, you get to have a guest appearance on their show. Like, holy shit. 4 people have $10,000 just laying around, which, okay.
But that goes to prove how rabid their fans are.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, about a week and a half, they truly whipped their fans up into this frenzy about being canceled. The one thing that I am not fond of about this whole business is the us versus them thing that they've got going on. Destination Fear versus Ghost Adventures. And, there's things about Ghost Adventures that I dislike. There are things about Ghost Adventures that I love. I think it's okay to like both shows. It shouldn't be an us versus them. You can't like both. You got to have one or the other. And some of the fans of both shows have been crazy and mean to each other. And there's no room for that.
Well, it's, internet bullying.
It is, and it's unfair, and it's unfortunate. Yes, there are definite things that I don't like about both shows, but there are things that I like that far outweigh the things that I don't like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was really really fun to see it. And they have 9 more days, so I'm dying.
They will tell you when they go, where they're going.
Yeah.
And what they're doing.
Yeah. So the new show is going to be called Project Fear. And because they no longer are constrained by network rules, they are allowed now, because they couldn't before, tell you when they start their road trip, when they're on the road, where they're going to be. I guess before that was so that they wouldn't have any interference while they were filming, which is smart. I don't know how they are going to control fans that show up when they are filming. That might be something they want to think about.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to interfere. But, it's going to be a learning curve for them. They're doing it all themselves, and that should be a learning curve.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really excited. 9 more days. Let's see how much they can pull in. But it's slowing down now. It's not as rabid as it was.
Yeah.
So while we were looking around, one of the things that was really exciting for me to see was Nick Groff is out. He was a little bit more vocal about why he left Ghost Adventures and that sort of thing. So that was interesting. But it excited me to see that he's not just doing Deathwalker, which as much as I liked Deathwalker when I was able to see it, we can't get it now in through our network in Canada. It's just not available. And I know that it is available on YouTube and Tubi and stuff in the United States. No, Roku in the United States, but not in Canada. We can't get it here. So I can't see Deathwalker, and I can't see Nick Groff, whom I really enjoy his investigating. So when he started posting stuff to his YouTube channel again, I got a little bit excited. So the first one that we saw was called Hotel Les Fêtes. Okay. I was not impressed with this one. Now, I don't know who was filming, who was editing, but it was really shoddy. It had poor editing. The transitions between scenes was bad. It was just not very professionally done, as some of the others that I've seen. There were spots where the audio was echoey. That you couldn't hear things in certain areas. I just didn't like it as much for quality. What about you?
No, I agree. I wouldn't see that. I didn't like it, but I just didn't care for it.
It felt really amateurish.
Yes, and I think he was a guest.
Could have been.
Of his.
And maybe they were just allowed to show that on their channel.
Yeah.
But it just seemed very amateur-y. Yeah. I mean, I'm big on credits, in case you guys have never noticed. I like to see the professional credit roll. I like to see the title. I like to see who's there. I like to see who produced it, all that stuff at the end. There was none of that with this. None. Not a zip. So it was just, I know Nick and I know Tessa, that's his wife. Those are the only people I knew. There was another guy, the guy that was leading him around with this haunted doll or something. Yeah, there was no explanation of any of that. And
haunted Cabbage Patch.
Yeah, Cabbage Patch doll. But I just, there was no explanation on any of that. And so I found it really, really not as appealing. But the second one, which we watched, was called Overnight in a Haunted Museum. Now, this is actually tagged as a Groff Adventure, which I think is going to be his YouTube series flag show, like his shows. I think they're going to be Groff Adventures, which is a takeoff of Ghost Adventures, which is just him kind of sticking it to Zach because he's the one who actually came up with the name for Ghost Adventures, which is kind of funny. But anyway, it does, of course, star Nick and Tessa Groff. Tessa, who is a medium, and Nick, who's an investigator and empath. And this particular episode, Overnight in a Haunted Museum, was a little over an hour. They had some guest investigators. Yeah. There was a Daniel something or other there. I didn't catch who that was. And then they had Josh and Colin from Paranormal Files and another show. Yeah. But there was a very, very professional intro into the show with credits. And there were credits at the end as well. I think, is this the one that there was credits at the end? No, this isn't the one. So they were at the Iron Island Museum.
Yeah.
Which was...
Everybody's been there at one time.
But they got to go some places that some of the other teams that we've seen haven't been able to go. Yeah. And that was kind of the cool part.
In the attic.
Yeah, yeah. So this one I found, stylistically wise, was much better done than Hotel Lafayette. Yes. So I do think that this was really well done. In the beginning, they had this conversation between all the investigators, and I really liked that, where they were kind of figuring out where they were going to do and what their history and all that stuff. That was really kind of cool. There were commercials, like ads, but they were quick. They were to the point, and they didn't seem to affect the flow of the investigation, the flow of the show. So really, that was well. There wasn't too many of them. There was enough so that they've got some monetizing going on. They can make a bit of money to make the next one. Yeah. So I really liked that. Do you have thoughts on the investigation?
Oh, I loved the investigation. I thought it was really, really well done. Tessa, I'd never seen her before, and I was really impressed with her. And I like their guests, too. And, you know, it was really, really well done.
Yeah. I liked that there was no rush to get through the investigation. Not like, you're not...
It felt like our investigation.
Yeah. Well, but they're not stuck for a time frame that they got to get it done for TV, within a certain amount of time. So they could show a bit more. Yeah. They could show the walking around on the shaky beams and stuff. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Afraid to fall through the floor.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed that. I found one thing, and Nick, if you're listening, I think you should go back and edit the spelling of the dining room, because you've got it spelled as dinning room. And for people that are really big on spelling, that's a real problem. So yeah, that was the one real niggle that I had, was if you're going to put something out for public consumption, make sure it's as perfect as possible. And a spelling error like that, when you're clearly trying to show a title of a room that you're going into, in big, bold writing, that's a mistake, and that should be fixed. Yeah. The other thing for this, this one ended really abruptly. It was just it. Yeah. They finished, they were talking about it, and then suddenly, gone.
Yeah, the ending was...
Yeah, this one, so that's something that they need to wind up a little better. Yeah. If they don't want to do credits at the end, that's fine, but there's got to be a way to exit... exit into a little smoother, exit into some smoke or something that shows that they're done. Yeah. Because, I'm thinking it was done. There was a commercial break, and I'm thinking, we're coming back. No, we came back to something that we weren't even watching, and it's like, no, I don't want to watch that. So it was, yeah.
But all in all, very good show.
I really enjoyed it. I love Nick. I love his style of investigating.
I've always liked Nick.
Yeah, he's good, and not always looking for demons, which is really kind of nice. Yeah, I know.
Don't get me started.
I won't, because we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about the next show that we watched, which is fairly new out, and it's one of my new favorite people to watch, Shane Pittman and his group called The Searchers. And they've started a new web series, and so far the first one is out. And you know what? I didn't write it down which one it was called, which was really stupid of me. But I really, really enjoyed it. Now, at this particular one, they're going to investigate Old Sweet Springs, which was a TB hospital, and then an old folks home. So he's there with two friends, Ray Causey, who is a researcher, and Josh Purvis, who is a location scout. And he's there as the tech guy, because we all know him from Holzer Files. He's a great tech guy. Really good.
He likes his toys.
Yeah. And oh my God, the credits and stuff at the beginning, the title, it was like watching television.
Yeah.
It was well done. Yeah. So well done.
The best so far.
Yeah. The only thing that I saw at first was, they didn't introduce who the team was. But then they did that a little bit later on. Yeah. So that kind of made up for it. But I always like in the beginning, the searchers with. I like to know who I'm watching. That's just my thing. And I'm sure there's other people out there like that. Yeah, I know. You're going to say for them. So the beginning, you see them. They have like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and basically that's like part 1, 2, and 3. And they're specific for part 1 is the preparation. And I really like how they're all sitting around the coffee table or the kitchen table talking about the history of the place, what they're hoping to accomplish. Yeah. And one of the things that Ray says is when they're filming, he says, we want to make sure it's real.
Yeah.
We don't want anything contrived or fake. We want to make sure it's real. And that for me sets the tone right there. I really liked that. Yeah. Part 2 is the investigation. They did a lot of their investigation with the noise canceling headphones and blindfold, which was really cool.
Yeah.
They did a lot of investigating in different areas with that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Some of the stuff they uncovered or that they got out of them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
I was really impressed.
Yeah. And there was one point, one of the guys talked about ringing in his ears. Remember that?
Right.
He's talking about how he was listening and then suddenly he got all this ringing in his ears. And it was funny because we had just finished watching Nick Groff and they were talking about the very same phenomenon, the ringing in the ears before.
It's common.
But right before, the spirits show up to speak or whatever, ringing in the ears.
Every time I see my friend, my ears ring.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't speak to you. No. He's just out there.
Yeah, he's just out there.
But I thought it was really interesting, and it's something that I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to before, just because, they don't really talk about that on TV very much. But we had 2 shows back to back talking about the same phenomenon, which is pretty cool. So the last section, after they've done all this investigating, which again, by the way, is awesome. It's so well done. Oh, the transitions between stuff was good.
Yeah.
It was just really,
even
really
the commercials.
Good. Yeah, there wasn't that many. I don't think there was that many.
There wasn't many.
Like I didn't even write that down as I was reviewing.
They were short.
Yeah.
Like with Nick's show, they were short.
I didn't even make a note of them as we were watching. Yeah. Obviously, they didn't jar me enough. Yeah. Like the Travel the Dead series jars you so much. Yeah. And I'm really hoping that's going to get better as time goes on. Yeah. But anyway, the debrief, the last chapter 3 is the debrief. And this is when they're sitting around the table again, talking about what they experienced and what they saw. And one of the things they said was a lot of the stuff that they got was after the cameras stopped rolling. And they said that, and I'm quoting, the ghosts seemed to want to talk off the record. They seemed to know that cameras were rolling, recorders were rolling, and they wanted to talk off the record. Yeah. So obviously this place has been investigated a gazillion times. Yeah. So all in all, I was so impressed. Yeah. So impressed with the production. Yeah, it was done. It was like made for television, and I will put a link to the Searchers channel in the information because I think you should check it out. It is incredibly well done.
And the next show.
Well, yeah, I'll do that one as well, but because I always do that, I always put links to them. But this one, if I had to pick 2, which one was the best of the 2? Searchers.
Yeah,
that was 100% better.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed. Hopefully you guys will too. Please leave us any comments if there's anything that you would like to add or say or disagree with. Just because you have a disagreement doesn't mean that you're right. But
if there's a show that you want us to look at,
we're happy to look at it through Investigator Eyes to Review, through Editing Eyes to Review. So that's what we have for this week. We will take a look. We've got a few other things on the go to look at for you. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Happy haunting. Bye now.